Hi, everyone, and welcome to the AI Experience News Roundup. Julian read everything so you don't have to, and I'm here to bring you the most relevant AI stories you probably haven't seen, all in under 10 minutes. Let's dive in.
If you think about what happened from GPT-3 to 3.5 to 4, it just got smarter.
The field became known as artificial intelligence.
Can machines really think?
Is artificial intelligence becoming the worst enemy of scientific research by trying too hard to help? In an article from Le Monde, we learned that some specialized math forms are facing a new wave of proofs generated by artificial intelligence. It is feeding what some researchers now call a kind of digital mush, or AI slop. Users are using chatbots to generate supposed proofs of legendary problems, like the Riemann hypothesis, which carries a $1 million prize, and then sending them to world-class mathematicians. This is not entirely new. For years, amateurs have sent their proofs to professionals. But according to Patrick Massot, a professor at Paris-Saclay University, the pace has changed. On some forums, it has gone from occasional messages to almost one per week. The problem is not only that these proofs are wrong, it is that they look convincing. They have the appearance of serious work, but without the substance. The article mentions several examples. So-called independent researchers claiming that the Riemann hypothesis is no longer a conjecture, incomplete copy and paste texts generated by chatbots, and even long discussions where a user seemed to rely on a chatbot to reply, without actually understanding the mathematics. The result? Wasted time, frustration, and stronger moderation. What this article shows is a very real tension. AI can help, speed things up, and structure ideas. Some experienced contributors use it openly, but when it becomes a mass producer of uncontrolled content, the burden shifts to those who have to check everything. We often describe AI as an accelerator of research. In this case, it acts more like a noise amplifier. And in a field where precision and rigor are everything, noise has a cost. What if artificial intelligence isn't pushing startups to pivot, but to refound themselves? In an article from the New York Times, we discover a new word gaining ground in Silicon Valley: refounding. In other words, not just a strategic pivot, but something closer to an existential reboot of the company in the age of AI. Several executives are using this term. Last June, Airtable explained that instead of simply adding AI features to its existing platform, the company treated this moment as a refounding. That meant making AI features the default and introducing a new pricing model. In October, Handshake announced a new business line, hiring contractors to generate data for large language model companies. Once again, the word was clear: refounding. Opendoor followed the same logic, with its new CEO saying he wants to refound Opendoor as a software and AI company. This is not just a marketing trick. Talking about refounding highlights that today's decisions will shape the next decade. A pivot suggests fixing a mistake. Refounding suggests the intensity and importance of a founding moment. But behind the language, there are tougher realities. Handshake and Opendoor both announced layoffs at the same time as their refounding. Handshake also asked employees to return to the office 5 days a week, making it clear that the expected pace and number of working hours would be high. Refounding brings back the energy of a startup's early days, and also the culture of the grind. What this article shows is that AI is not just transforming products. It is pushing leaders to ask deeper, existential questions. What business are we really in? As Johnny Wada, a lecturer at Yale, explains, AI is forcing executives to rethink the very foundations of their companies. Refounding becomes a powerful narrative tool. It allows an established company to inject startup spirit without starting from scratch. But as Handshake's chief marketing officer points out, you only get one real chance to make people believe in it. In the end, this may be more than communication strategy. It is a signal. AI is not simply forcing companies to adapt, it is forcing them to redefine who they are. Can we really call artificial intelligence automatic when thousands of humans are clicking behind every model? In an article from Le Monde, we discover the reality of the hidden workers behind AI in Madagascar. Data annotators, the people who label and classify the data used to train AI models. The numbers are striking. According to the World Bank, between 150 and 400 million people worldwide may depend on annotation work, mainly in India and Africa. In Madagascar, this activity has become a major part of the economy. Tens of thousands of people work in this sector. Many are young. Many have university degrees. They are attracted by the promise of an office job in a country where 75.2% of the population lives below the poverty line. So, what do they actually do? Daniel, a former annotator, spent his days watching video surveillance clips from European stores to help train theft detection software. He had less than a minute to label each clip as theft or suspicious. In 98% of the cases, nothing happened. Click after click, the AI learns. Click after click. He says he felt mentally stuck, with no real career prospects. His working time was monitored by software. Even bathroom breaks were counted. The salary? On average, between 80 and 95 euros per month. That is higher than the local average salary, estimated at around 41 euros. But according to the workers interviewed, it is just enough to survive. The most qualified annotators can earn around 120 euros per month. Meanwhile, outsourcing companies charge their clients several thousand euros per profile each month. The article also highlights a structural issue. The sector is largely controlled by foreign capital, especially French. In 2024, more than half of the annotation companies operating in the special economic zones in Madagascar were directly or indirectly owned by French entrepreneurs. Only 4 were Malagasy-owned. This report reveals a fundamental tension. On one side, Madagascar is positioning itself as a strategic player in the global AI value chain. On the other side, workers describe rigid organization, productivity measured by the minute, high turnover, and sometimes undeclared employees. What this article reminds us is that artificial intelligence is not just a technological story. It is also a global outsourcing chain shaped by economic power dynamics. Behind the models we call intelligent, there are humans watching, labeling, and describing, and their work remains largely invisible. Can you drug an AI to make it more creative? Behind this question, which sounds almost absurd, there is an article from Uzbek and Rika describing a provocative idea. Pharmacy, an online store launched in October 2025 by a Swedish entrepreneur. The concept? Selling code modules called MDMA, DMT, or cocaine, designed to be uploaded into language models like ChatGPT to make them more creative. Of course, these are not illegal substances. They are files that change certain internal settings of the models. The entrepreneur starts from a simple idea. He believes AI answers are too safe, too generic, too optimized. In his view, by focusing so much on safety and reliability, companies have smoothed out the creative potential of these systems. So what do these modules actually do? They adjust settings like temperature, a parameter that increases randomness in responses. The higher the temperature, the more the model explores unlikely connections between ideas. The result can be answers that feel freer and more surprising, but also a higher risk of mistakes and hallucinations. However, several researchers say the effect is superficial. Andrew Smart, a researcher at Google, says it disrupts the results without changing the model's reasoning. Sebastian Konieczny, research director at the CNRS, makes a similar point. These modules do not change the structure of the reasoning, only the tone, style, and form. In other words, calling AI creative may already be misleading. These models generate text based on statistical parameters. They do not feel anything. They do not understand. They do not want anything. And yet, this may be the most important part of the story. By talking about drugging an AI or freeing your agent's mind, Pharmacy feeds a powerful image, the idea of a machine with consciousness, emotions, or a mental state. Researchers warn against this kind of anthropomorphism, our tendency to give human intentions to programs that simply imitate language. In the end, this story reveals something bigger. We no longer want AI systems that are only efficient. We want them to surprise us. But the more they surprise us, the more we risk forgetting that they are still just calculation models. A A self-driving car stuck because someone forgot to close the door. In an article from TechCrunch, we learned that Waymo, Alphabet's self-driving car company, is asking DoorDash drivers to close the doors of its autonomous vehicles when passengers leave them open. The problem is simple. If a passenger leaves a door slightly open, the car cannot move. It becomes inactive. It cannot start a new ride. Even worse, it can block traffic. In Atlanta, Waymo is testing a pilot program. Nearby DoorDash drivers receive a notification offering them a few dollars to drive less than a mile and close the door. Once the action is verified, they receive an extra payment. Waymo and DoorDash have confirmed that this practice is real. The contrast is striking. Waymo has just raised $16 billion to expand internationally. The company already operates in 6 cities. And yet, in this AI-powered driverless future, human help is still necessary for something as basic as shutting a car door. This is not the first time Waymo has outsourced this kind of assistance. In Los Angeles, the company works with Honk, a towing services app, and some users have reportedly been paid up to $24 to close a Waymo door. Waymo says that future vehicles will include automatic door closing systems. But for now, gig economy workers are filling this gap. This story may sound minor, but it reveals something important. Technological autonomy does not always eliminate human work. It reshapes it. Behind the image of a fully automated system, there are still very real dependencies. The car is autonomous. The door is not yet. That wraps up this week's AI Roundup. Julian will be back on Sunday with a new interview in English or in French, and I'll return for the next news digest soon. If you're enjoying the show, those 5-star ratings really help. See you soon.